This famous Bible account is rich with significance and meaning, as Jesus chooses a group of ordinary fishermen as his first followers, not chosen to a life of stardom, but to line up alongside the poor and the broken and the forgotten, and to be grafted into the divine purpose of God to fill the earth with his love and his power. Everybody loves a hero, the guy with the slightly boring life who embarks on an adventure towards greatness. Luke Skywalker in Star Wars, the Pevensey children in the Chronicles of Narnia, Frodo in Lord of the Rings, I'm a great fan of all of them by the way, and a hand-picked group of nobodies called the Disciples of Jesus. This is the account written in Mark's Gospel, which is probably Peter's story, a rough, tough fisherman who appears continually throughout the life of Jesus. One day, as Jesus was walking along the shore of the Sea of Galilee, he saw Simon and his brother Andrew throwing a net into the water, for they fished for a living. Jesus called out to them, "Come, follow me, and I will show you how to fish for people." And so they left their nets at once and followed him. A bit further up the shore, Jesus saw Zebedee's sons, James and John, in a boat repairing their nets. Jesus called to them also, and immediately they followed him, leaving their father Zebedee in the boat with the hired men. It's so important that we don't lose sight of the profound ordinariness of the guys that Jesus chose. I've often wondered why he picked such a dysfunctional group of guys as his first disciples or apprentices. They don't get it all wrong, of course, but the clues are certainly there. You see, Jesus was not that interested in how good someone thought they were, and he isn't today either. Jesus calls them in the context of their daily, mundane working life. It wasn't a high-five moment at a political rally. It was a personal invitation to follow him, not an instruction from a headmaster or an order from a police officer. This was probably not the first time they'd ever encountered Jesus, but it was absolutely the game-changing one. Sometimes they went back to the water to fish, but in a very real sense, this was it for them for the rest of their lives. A one-way trip through God's awesome turnstile into a life of adventure and transformation in the hands of God. The call was very specific, but the cost was enormous. No plan B, no escape route, no alternative career. Zebedee and Sons Fishing Limited of Galilee is no more. Although I do wonder on days what happened to the old man and his retirement plan. So let's leave that part of the story there for a moment and fast forward to the end of the 3-year apprenticeship for these lads. Jesus has died on the cross for the things that separate all of us from a perfect God, and then smashed the barrier of death into 1,000 pieces once and for all through his resurrection 3 days later. Now we find the resurrected Jesus appearing once more to his fisherman disciples to deliver their very last lesson before the baton passes from him to them and the church is born. This is what the Bible says. Jesus appeared to his disciples beside the Sea of Galilee, and this is how it all happened. Several of the disciples were there: Peter, Thomas, Nathanael, the sons of Zebedee, and 2 other disciples. Peter said, "I'm going fishing." "We'll come too," they all said. So they went out in the boat, but they caught nothing all night. At dawn, Jesus was standing on the beach, but his disciples couldn't see who it was. He called out, "Friends, haven't you caught any fish?" "No," they replied. Then he said, "Throw your net over the other side of the boat
and you'll get some. So they did, and they couldn't haul in the net because there was so many fish inside it. This starts out as a demoralizing moment in a bad night for fishing. Actually, they're having a bad week and an even worse month. Peter has denied Jesus not once but 3 times and needed to be rescued. Thomas has had a crisis of faith and now he needs proof. And the less said about Judas, the better. None of these guys are going to win the Disciple of the Month contest, let's face it. They're trying to implement the fishing plan, but everything's going wrong and they're failing desperately until Jesus arrives and interacts with them from the shoreline. At first, they don't even recognize him. Maybe they're thinking this is just some bloke giving helpful advice to a group of fishermen who know exactly what they're doing. Thank you very much. We've all been there, haven't we, when some know-it-all offers some helpful advice, which usually means stating the obvious. So what is it about this bit of obvious advice that makes them change? Just maybe by then they have recognised the voice of Jesus and their 3-year journey has told them to do exactly what he says. There was nothing wrong with the lake, nothing wrong with the equipment or the technique that they were using. The catch was pulled in at the same place on the same night that they were fishing before. But they were missing an ingredient. The word from Jesus was everything. Sometimes we've just got to do something which to our logical mind sounds absurd and crazy. Sometimes also we're going to need the help of other people to get it right. So there's the 2 accounts that are the bookends on the bookshelf that contains all the books of the things that Jesus did and is still doing today. I do wonder on days whether those 2 encounters actually happened at exactly the same spot. We'll never know that for sure this side of heaven, but they weren't very far apart.
Most heroes, it seems, go through times of testing, challenge, and even desolation and defeat. In the case of the disciples of Jesus, after he had gone to the cross, they went back to a life that they once knew, or at least they tried to, resurrecting a flagging fishing business. I think we all go fishing sometimes. Thanks for watching. Let me know what you think. If you want to hear more from me, I guess you know what to do, and I will see you next time.